Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the Patreons, make sure to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, yeah, we are flying out the Tornado ADV, and we are doing some BVR fights in the custom battles with a friend. We are doing 3 of each, and 3 aircraft and plus a bonus one. And we are trying to kill each other with BVR missiles. The first target is the MatAWG 2000C, which is a very capable aircraft. And yeah, there are some things that were really bad in this aircraft. The radar is kind of bugged. Beyond 70 kilometers, the radar can actually detect stuff, but it doesn't appear on the radar scope, which is weird. And the sky flash is kind of weird as well. Sometimes it just locks. And it's more due to the radar, but it is a little bit bugged. It is what I'm saying. Okay, so things might change in the future. And at the start of the battle here, I was doing some mistakes that later I found out to be a little bit better. You will notice that a lot in my videos of this type. As you see, Search Pull Stopper HDN actually locking chaff. This is the first bug that I encounter. Very weird. And the detection one. Both of these bugs with the radar makes it a very hard radar to use, as you see. So it's just, I'm just losing lock all the time, trying to get at least a launch on it. We have the rule of not going cold to force us into the battle and not just run away, right? As you see, he launched the second missile. And I was going to launch oh, that was the second missile, I think. Yeah, I killed him. And the missile got me anyway, so yeah. Super 5-3, that was the second missile, if I'm not mistaken. And my second missile as well. So, yeah. Against the MatAWG, it is difficult, man. It was the most difficult aircraft ever. There are some bugs, visual bugs as well. Like the missiles are just like wobbling around a little bit. So it was very weird. And it is a very sluggish aircraft, man. I don't know, I feel it's not that bad in a normal battle because you can actually exploit some of these features of the aircraft. But in a 1v1 that you are forced into the battle like this, you really kind of, it's not the best thing ever. Another thing to consider is the lack of range on the Sky Flash. The Sky Flash, even though it has a fair amount of energy even, the range on it is just really bad. The Seeker Head just doesn't have the range. It has less than 40 kilometers of range, so you need to just get into like the 38 kilometer, and then you can be able to actually shoot a missile. So it is tough. Again, against the MatAWG 2000 here, I try to lower the airspeed a little bit more, but not enough, and just crank a little bit to the left, maintaining a downwards nose to actually get the missile to get to a thicker air against me. He's also doing that, so he might, you know, get me there. And I just locked the chaff there, so yeah, not the greatest thing ever. And then the first missile actually got me. So 1-1 to the MatAWG and the Tornado. It is difficult, man. I would say that if you are considering the Tornado ADV to be your first, like, really modern aircraft, I wouldn't even say like 4th gen. It kind of falls between the 4th and 3rd generation, but still, it is kind of a 4th generation, right? But if you are considering it, hey, consider, because it is a very difficult aircraft to fly. The performance of the aircraft, I was saying to my friend, it is like a half MiG-25. It turns like a MiG-25. The radar is pretty alright, but the engine is like half of a MiG-25. And the missiles are basically almost half of a MiG-25 as well. So it's a semi-good interceptor. It lacks a lot in a lot of things. And using the auto wing actually proved to be a very bad thing in this aircraft. If you use the manual wing, you have to be careful for not actually breaking the wings. But yes, it is just better, especially when you are trying to notch or crank or do something that changes the direction of the aircraft. I would say, here I am still using the auto mode, so I'm using the wings just completely like swept back, right? So it is just very hard to actually pull any type of real Gs. And as I said, I should have done just another combat with the Mirage, just because I was kind of learning the aircraft a little bit. I still have to play it to actually write it off as a very bad aircraft. A lot of YouTubers even, one of them that I follow, Seekerhead, made a video about it, that he says that the Tornado is really bad, and I kind of agree with him. But I think he has a niche. If you actually know how to use it, it might be okay. As you see here, if you use a lot of the chaff and stuff, you can evade some missiles, but some others you can't. So even if in that, it's kind of hard. So 2-1 to the Mirage. It was a very hard aircraft to fight, and the Super 530 just had more energy, to be honest, to turn and stuff. And now we are going to test it out against the MLD. This was a very tough one as well, but not by the reason you would think. I will eventually kill him more than he killed me, but let me be honest, it was really hard to kill him, because the chaffs that he has are the large ones, and this happens a lot. You will lose a lot of locks. I don't know what is happening with this Raider, but the big chaffs, the larger chaffs, they just work in an extremely strong way against this Raider. It's really hard to maintain a lock, and I had to just keep locking him and locking him and locking him to actually be able to get a kill, and it was really, really, really hard. To be honest, he had the same problem as I did, because obviously the Raider on the MLD is a normal non-pulse Doppler Raider, so he had the same basic problem that I had, but then it kind of goes to the best pilot that can manage that, right? I still think that the MLD will suffer a little bit more on that sense, but it is doable to beat the Tornado. As you saw, I got it with the first missile, and it was kind of surprising. It kind of just went to the target, even though I was losing lock a lot of the time, and I had to just maintain lock as long as I can, as long as I could actually, on the chaff itself, to see if it would track in the general direction of the target, and it worked at that time. So yeah, it's the same type of strategy that the MiG would use on me, and as I said, it depends very much on the pilot and knowing how to use it. My friend he even said that they changed a little bit of that it feels like the chaff lock, it is working less. So yeah, as you see, we need to do these dogfights, specifically these 1v1 more specifically against the MLD, couple more times to actually know if it is actually a thing or not of the big chaff, and if this Raider is going to be fixed, and if maybe he can actually get the locks done and stuff. So it is just weird, but it is very much on the occasion, you know. Sometimes it is very hard, depending on how much chaff he puts out, to actually get a lock on him. As you see, I'm just not managing to get a lock, and he's getting close to me. He probably already fired, and I'm just not able to get a lock. The chaff is so strong that I just cannot get a lock until I was in like 20 kilometers or so. Then it kind of burned through the chaff, and it actually made it to the target. So yeah, it's kind of weird and very hard. And I actually locked the missile there, not the aircraft, and that's probably why I managed to get a lock, because the missile is not dropping chaff, right? So yeah. And here we have the last normal aircraft that we used a little bit more. And if you are wondering why am I using a more older aircraft and not top tier, it's because it is an 11.3. So the idea was to face what you face in a BVR engagement. So we got a French one that has the Super 530s, the MLDs that are the 11.3 of the Russians, and then we are going to use an American one. But instead of using the F4s, we actually decided to go with the F-16 to actually test it out against a more superior aircraft in some areas. Here you can see he's dropping a lot of chaff. You don't know here, you cannot see it, but the Raider just doesn't care. So the chaff of the MiG is really strong against this Raider, while the chaff of the F-16 is pretty weak. So there is that. And I started to spam a lot of chaff to see if it would work and kind of become kind of the large chaffs, right, of the MLD, and be hard for the F-16 to actually lock. I know that the APG-66 has problems with that. I launched the second missile there to be able to maintain, still cranking and just spamming the chaff when I can. As you see, in this missile specifically, it worked very well, the chaff. And then it's just a matter of time until I get him, because I have the offensive position. So it can actually work to fight against superior aircraft. But the strategy here is to be really aggressive on the chaff, like really dump and spam those chaffs. This is the only strategy that I think it would work, because you have way less range on the missiles and the radar is problematic compared to some of the other aircraft. So I think it's the only way, and to be honest, it is the main feature of this aircraft compared to the others. It's literally the only thing that it is better in this aircraft than on the others. It's the amount of chaff, amount of flares. Other aircraft will have a lot more other stuff, more radar, more missiles, better radars. Not more radars, but you know what I mean. And this one has more chaff than most of the tier 8 aircraft, and you have to use it because it is basically the only thing that you can actually do, defend yourself. It is very much like the MLD. The MLD is not the greatest thing ever in the BVR as well, but you have a lot of big chaffs, so that helps. I would suggest even to use the chaff focused setting on your countermeasures. I forgot the name, but it is just going to make your chaff a little bit bigger, and it might work a little bit better. I fired 2 missiles because I didn't know if the first one would track, because I fired outside of the range. Just open the air brakes to lose a little bit of speed and make the missile of the enemy work a little bit harder. Trying to crank as much as I can and going downwards as well to make the missile actually go through thicker air. And then try to launch another missile afterwards. As you see, it barely pulls any Gs here, so it's really hard to just maintain a good position on the cranking as well. It really is hard. And yes, he got me. I didn't have any troubles with that, but the thing is that their missile have a little bit more energy than mine, so it got me first. That's basically what it is. And then we had the last battle against the F-16. Same strategy, spamming chaff to make it try to work again, to make the missiles, the sparrows actually miss you. But yeah, the radar is working perfectly against F-16, so it is dependent on the aircraft that you are facing, because depends how many chaff the target is using, depends on the size of the chaff, depends on the speed of the aircraft, depends if the aircraft actually has any type of a good missile. If you do what I am doing right now, you're probably going to win 95% of the time in a 1v1 BVR situation in a normal battle, because normal players normally don't do these heavily, you know? It's just because there are more things to worry about than one target, right? So and people are still getting used to it as well, I might add, but still, as you see, I managed to kill the F-16. So yeah, very interesting, right? So the strategy of using a lot of chaff, see, I fired, I don't know, 100 chaff plus, and it was done. And here the bonus one against the Yak-41, basically the best just BVR weapon of the game against the R27ER. And something very funny will happen here. I will not be able to actually fire a Sky Flash, basically, kinda, and he will be killing me already. Why? Because the ER has so much more range than the Super Temp Sky Flash, and I had so much trouble actually trying to lock him because of the chaff that he was firing, as you see on the radar there, that it meant that I couldn't actually he just outranged me. He made it so hard to actually lock him. If it was a real battle, I would just go cold because I knew I was going to die here. I didn't have any type of possibility of actually trying to launch a missile properly, and he just outranged me with the ER, making it really difficult to hit me, and also just basically killing me over the range of my missile. So yeah, while he was making it very hard to actually kill me, to kill him, while that was happening, the missile was already in the air and coming from me, and it was a shot from 62 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. So a very, very, very long range shot that there is so much range that you cannot do anything. Even the gimbal limit of the 85 degrees of the Yak 41 radar made it so that just for doing the crank, he was already notching my radar. Together with the chaff, it was impossible to maintain a lock. And this is how dangerous this aircraft actually is. So yeah, the Tornado ADV, man. I don't know what you think about it, but I love it. It is a very fun aircraft to fly, but it has its problems. It is a hard aircraft, a difficult aircraft, a bad aircraft, I might add, but still, I think it has a place. If you do things correctly, you can get kills, but you need bigger maps, man. Smaller maps for this thing is just, oof, it's going to die. That's pretty much it. And the radar is problematic, so they need to fix that as well. But let me know in the comments what you think about the Tornado ADV. Do you think it's competitive or not? Probably not, right? But still, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. See ya.